So this new moon that took place 2 days ago, it happened in the 29 degrees of Aries, and Aries being the first sign of the zodiacal wheel and the sign of spring. It speaks of new beginnings, yet the previous new moon at the end of March, it was at the 0 degrees of Aries, the same day of the equinox, which is not something that happens all the time. And this other new moon, the following new moon, is also in Aries, but at the 29 degree, which is the last degree. So it's a theme of new beginnings, but it's the new beginning, it's the beginning of the end of something. That's how the big theme of this, we can look at it. And there are things that we do in our life that we tend to repeat. Everything is a pattern in our lives. There are cycles throughout the everyday outside in nature. There are cycles within our lives, and there are patterns in which we repeat. Emotional patterns, thought patterns that we just don't stop going to, and they are not helping us to build that highest version of ourselves. And I wanted to just give you things to consider and evaluate within your life. How could you use these inspirations to help you observe? What is the thing that you can focus your energy on? Because we need to observe something to be able to realize that we need to create change, and then we have that baseline from which we can then compare in the future. How is it different? How is it better? What is the change that I am creating? And the first thing that I want you to consider is that when we avoid change, things get more complicated. Or when we avoid taking action, or when we avoid having a conversation, or when we avoid facing ourselves. Things just get more complicated in general, and more so when we are relating to others. So that's one of the things to consider within your life. Are you avoiding something that is just creating more chaos in your life? And another theme is with this specific location of everything, Mars is in Cancer and it's leading this theme of ancestral wounds, ancestral perhaps abuse, anything that has ancestral nature, ancestral patterns. Just look at your family, your ancestral family. What is a common thing that happened to perhaps in the family of your great grandma and your and the grandma's family with your mother that potentially could be repeating within you? And look at that pattern and assert your needs. But assert your needs not from a needy perspective, but assert the needs that you need to address to become the highest version of yourself. So those are needs that you can fulfill yourself, because the change doesn't come from the outside. There's no one that can create change in your life. Only you can change in your life, can create change in your life. And sometimes it's easier to point things outside and to say that we can only be enjoy or happy or calm if someone else does something else differently. The truth is that if we change our perspective, we can be in calm, we can be in joy, we can create that life that we're yearning for. Because we are like radio stations. We are emitting frequencies. Your thoughts have frequencies. And if your thoughts have frequencies, those thoughts are gonna be attracting more of those thoughts. So what are you thinking most of the time? Are you repeating the patterns of thought of your ancestors? Or are you creating new thought patterns that align with the truth of the life that you are wanting to create? And for that, if they're not aligned, you have to let go of all thought patterns and replace them with new ones. And remember what we talked about last time, the thought is the masculine force, is the masculine seed. That thought has masculine energy. Where does the seed of a masculine energy grow? In the nourishing environment of the feminine. And the nourishing environment of the feminine is your emotions. So you have to feel like that reality that you are wanting to manifest. You want more abundance, you have to feel abundant and be nourishing more thoughts of abundance. You want to feel love, you have to feel the love from within. The love is not going to come from the outside. Are you loving to yourself? Are you loving yourself without any conditions? Are you loving yourself when you make quote-unquote mistakes? And from that is that you can then express clearly your needs to yourself first. What is it that I need to let go of to create that new reality that I want to create? And then when we move into that, then we can perceive quote-unquote failures that can open the portal for us to forgive, let go. Because there is no one that is perfect, that is not gonna, at some point, not fulfill your expectations. Not even us, to ourselves. So if we are in that mindset, we open the portal to forgive ourselves. And if we can truly forgive ourselves from that unconditional love, then we can forgive others and we can truly love others and build nourishing relationships with ourselves so that we can share those nourishing relationships with those that we care the most. And then always remember that everything is a cycle, and there are times that we are not wanting to take action, and cycles come and show you, maybe this is the way, and we make a blind eye to those nudges, and we continue as if nothing has happened. And then the universe confabulates to show you what is the way. And it might be a more strong shaking that turns your world upside down and We just have to remember that everything that is happening, even if it's intense, even if we feel it's too much, is out of love. It's not against us. There is not a punishing God outside that wants to punish you. It's the universe trying to show you there are things you have to let go to get to that highest version of yourself. And what are the creative ways in which you can look at that situation? That doesn't mean you're not gonna feel pain, but the choice is in the suffering. Are you gonna get stuck into attachment and resistance? That's gonna create suffering. Are we gonna flow and be curious? You don't have to be happy, you don't have to be enjoying. You just have to be curious. To look at the situation from a different perspective so that you can start to see the silver lining. And perhaps when you feel those feelings completely, later you can see why things happen the way they happened. And remember, you can only feel your feelings if you're feeling safe in your body. You have to be in your body to feel your feelings. Otherwise, you're gonna go into the escape of the mind, and then you're not gonna be able to feel the feelings. You have to feel the feelings to see them. If you see them, then you can transmute them and then liberate that energy and be creative. When you're in resistance, you tend to get angry or impatient, and then there is no creation there. It's just more tension. And I want to share something that happened to me this week. I was rushing with my children in the car, or two things. I was dropping them off, but I had to drop off my husband at a subway station. And I just went to the normal route that I go all the time. And then as soon as I made that turn, I got really upset because I wasn't going to where I needed to go. And then my husband turned to me and used my own words to tell me, can you please unapologetically love yourself? And then I cried. And I cried so deeply because I saw how much I was hurting myself by not being present in the moment and just being in the normal way of being without putting attention, right? And my kids were there and he was there and I was crying, but I was not crying because out of pity. I was crying because in a way it was joy, but it was sadness. It was joy to see the pattern. It was sadness to see what I was doing to myself, right? But I was able to see it, and that was a happy thing to do, to see. And then I went to drop them off, came back home. I had just the time to go get a coffee, to be in a meeting, that it was gonna be the whole day meeting after meeting. I went, got the coffee, supposedly put the coffee in the cup holder, and I went into my parking that is down, but I didn't put it in the cup holder. It was just on top of my something in the car, and then it just flip over and spill over the whole car. And at first I went like, floop, and I was like, oh, it's the same thing that happened before. Okay, I guess I wasn't meant to have the coffee. And it flipped from automatic to choice. How am I gonna choose to respond to this now? And it felt very empowering, because when we just go into the automatic reaction, there is no choice. There is no free will. It's just automatic reaction. That means that we are enslaved to that pattern that is instilled in our neural pathways, and we're not choosing anything. It's just taking us for the ride. So it takes a millisecond to make that choice, and it takes effort to choose something different. And it feels weird because it's not your normal choice. But it is that distinction that lets you see that you are the one observing, that you're not that feeling, that you're not that emotion. You are the one experiencing that, and by having that separation is that you have the choice of responding to it and not automatically reacting to it. So thank you for listening, and I hope you find that inspiring for working with this new moon cycle, because it's not only a moon cycle, it's a new 22-year cycle. Why? For two reasons. Because Pluto just moved to a different sign, which in my understanding of astrology is Aquarius, and it's going to be there until June, and this is the first eclipse that is happening with Pluto there. And Pluto is coming to change things in your life and in the world. So that eclipse is doing that, awakening that, right? And the lunar nodes move in cycles of 19 years, but Pluto's gonna be there 22 years. So it's a 20-year cycle, at least, that we're gonna have, and this is gonna change things in your life. So start to look at what areas in your life are being activated now, because this is the time to create that change. This is the 0 degrees, this is the 29 degrees of Aries. Aries is about the head, what you have to change in your head. How can we be more in connection with our heart? Mars is there to take action through the heart of Cancer to create the change that we want to see in our relations and from those ancestral patterns. How can you liberate yourself from those ancestral patterns? And so I think that's all I wanted to say. And now we can go to Kundalini Yoga and breathing.